Yes, indeed. Kind of set it too high. Fix it a bit lower. Right here. All right. I think I want to find what I'm looking for. Wisdom is profitable. Part 2 of prayer scriptures taken from First Kings chapter 4, verses 29 to 34. Memory verse is taken from James chapter 3, verse 17. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. Motivational quote: the wisdom of God puts a believer ahead and above his enemies. Prophetic word for today: I decree that the wisdom of God will make you a victor in the battle of life in the name of Yahshua. Today we will look further at the excellent characteristics of wisdom. The six things we need to know about wisdom is that the scriptures are its source. The Bible, referring to Timothy, affirms this through the Apostle Paul in 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 15, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make the wise to be wise unto salvation through faith which is in Christ Jesus. The seventh thing we can we need to know about wisdom is that it is full of spiritual fruits, and believers all believers should covet these fruits. James chapter 3 verse 13 highlights them. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. These wonderful fruits distinguish the wisdom of God from earthly wisdom, which is foolishness to God. Beloved, throughout the Bible, you will find the wisdom to distinguish everything that was forethought to possess it. It distinguished Solomon so much that the Queen of Sheba came from her kingdom to see firsthand all she had heard about Solomon, his wisdom and kingdom. The testimony of the Queen of Sheba was that what she found when she met Solomon was far greater than all she heard about him. Our first scripture, Proverbs 4, verses 24 to 34, verses 29 to 34, paints a graphically, and, and God gave Solomon wisdom and understanding exceeding much. And imagines of heart, even as the sand that is on the seashore. And Solomon's wisdom exceeded the wisdom of all the children of the east country and all the wisdom of Egypt, for he was wiser than all men. Then Ethan, Ezraite, and Heman, Jacob, Durban, son of Moab, and his fame was all in all nations around about. And he spoke 3,000 proverbs, and his songs were 1,005. He spoke of trees from the cedar tree that is in Lebanon, even unto the hyssop that springeth out of the wall. He spoke also of beasts and of fowl and of creeping things and of the fishes. And he came of all people to hear the wisdom of Solomon from all the kings of the earth which had heard of wisdom. I pray that God's wisdom will be distinguished you and add color to your life in the name of Jesus. Father, fill us with the spirit of your wisdom as you did for Yahshua and Solomon. Yahshua. Father, by your grace and wisdom, make us a peace setter in life in the name of Yahshua. Oh God, let your wisdom distinguish us as it did Daniel in Babylon in the name of Yahshua, your beloved Son. We need such heavenly wisdom. Up to your right now. This has brought the reading of our devotional about wisdom is profitable. We read yesterday part 1, and now today we read part 2. We saw how the Most High granted, that is, Yahweh granted wisdom unto Solomon. He didn't pray for riches and so forth. He asked, oh, for the wisdom to guide Israel, the children of Israel, and the Most High granted him the wisdom. People from far and wide, even Queen of Sheba came and visited Solomon based on what she heard.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul.
Sorry about that. And the sleep touch something. I look for the newspaper section. I get into the newspaper reading and see what transpired in our beautiful island of Jamaica. See yourselves. Max. International response. Okay, okay, okay. Jamaica US keeps low profile amid Trump's immigration crackdown. Jamaicans in US keep low profile amid Trump's immigration crackdown. Even church attendance has declined, says immigration service expert. From riding around with passports in their cars to shying away from public gatherings, the day-to-day movement of some Jamaicans in the United States have changed following the re-election of President Donald Trump. Trump always inaugurated almost a year ago on January 21st, 2025, after a decisive victory over the Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. has campaigned heavily on border politics, promises voters a crackdown on illegal immigration into the country. Since then, American president has made good on his word, further empowering immigration and customs enforcement officers, and even going as far as defending the controversial fatal shooting of a woman by a ICE agent in the this week as possible self-defense. The hostile attitude towards immigration has impacted Jamaicans and other immigrants, no matter their status, according to Claire, the Chief Operation Officer at Caribbean Immigration Service in Queens, New York, noting that there has been a noticeable shift in the way immigrants are treated. We do have a Congress that is anti-immigrant. As a result of that statement that flows from the authorities is one of aggression, he explained. Wow. As it relates to how people are fearing, there is now a general tendency not to participate or go places because there is a possibility that within the congregation you could be intercepted. Clear continued. I could say, I could even say to you that probably the population in church has declined, and that is usually the best bellwether indicator to say to you what is really taking place. End of article. Oh, sorry, the end. Having helped over a quarter of a million immigrants to follow due process to regularize themselves through this country, clearly is now there's immigration issues. Don't get me wrong, there is support for immigration, but the kind of consensus and aggression support is not as potent as it used to be prior to the president present president coming into office. Clear said he said the behavioral changes among Jamaicans in the US are noticeable in even sanctuary cities like New York. We still want to get our parties, still want to get a curry goat or oxtail, etc. But I think now when we go out, and I say we because I am cognizant of it too, you know, you kind of pay attention to where you are. You say, ah, they are partying, but I am certain that there's some people who aren't partying because of the reason, and these who are partying are very selective in where they go. We have heard of ICE vehicles just passing by and even just to cause fear. He continued, adding, sometimes white plains road, such is popular for Jamaicans. Every now and then, ICE vehicle just passes up there on the road, and you would think it's Thanksgiving because everybody inside radio personality and chairman of the Jamaica Diaspora Crime Intervention and Intervention and Prevention Task Force, Dr. Rupert Francis, who has resided in the United States for 26 years, said while the social scene was not dead or even dying, an air of caution was noticeable. Oh, yes, of course, some people are hiding, some people are being more careful, not gathering, drinking rum again at night. They are not doing that, Francis said. When they used to maybe drive a little harder, they slow down, and many people I know drive around with their passports, but are being more careful. They don't want to get in any problem with anybody, he added. Francis also pointed to noticeable changes in the overseas travel patterns among Jamaican immigrants. Some people are scared. If you look at the amount of Jamaicans coming back to Jamaica during December, apart from Melissa, the airport will be full. You could hardly get into Jamaica. No, it's not so. Why? Because they don't want to come with their green cards or whatever and then cannot come back, Francis said. According to Claire, overseas travel bringing was being approached with some amount of caution, citing new rules regarding green cards, including the Lakin Rally Act passed soon after President Trump was inaugurated, which allowed for arrest and detention of non-citizens, including green card holders who commit certain crimes without bail until their immigration proceedings are heard. Previously, the law mainly mandate detention for serious offenses such as drug and firearm crimes and human trafficking. The Lakin Rally Act ex- expanded these crimes to include misdemeanors such as shoplifting and burglary. Green card holders who applied to become citizens were detained and not yet regularized themselves may also face difficulties while traveling internationally, Claire explained. The detention affected some immigrants who run businesses according to the New York City Council candidate for District 41, Brooklyn. Hello, my sister. How you doing? I see. I look down and I see you said hello, Jeremy. Yeah, man, just pick up yourself, my sister. Much love and respect. Yeah, we there reading newspaper. From a financial perspective, many businesses previously relied on more affordable labor to offset the extremely high cost of operating in New York City. This is particularly true within Jamaican and broader Caribbean communities. Okay, you're welcome, which play a dominant role in the city food and restaurant industries, he explained. citing heightened enforcement visibility and reports of ICE activity, and who has lived in New York for over 15 years, said business owners have become far more cautious about hiring individuals who are not authorized to work in the United States. Informal or under the table payments, while never without risk, is especially precautious in the current climate. Even when such arrangements exist, both employers and workers operate under heightened anxiety, he said. Much further said, socially, there is also a noticeable chilling effect. Restaurants, clubs, and other small spaces are approached with caution. Earlier this year, while organizing an immigrant resource fair, one of the most common concerns expressed by prospective attendees was whether ICE might appear. I need to talk to client. I'll be back. Okay, cool. That level of fear underscores the broader impact on community life. Claire said in his company no longer holds events like community forum discussing status regularization, describing it as potentially leading lambs to the slaughter. Francis says collaboration with government and even in entertaining government has a better path to change than than protesting. I do believe that the United States is one of the oops, the articles come off of the screen. We can locate it. Quite a lengthy article, but you have to read it, eh? All right. I believe that took off this. I believe the United States is one of the greatest places on earth. There's a reason why everybody wants to come here. We we have to be prepared to live by their rules. At the same time, we have to make the place more user friendly. End of article. immigrant that made the US what it is now, they move like it is a bad thing. Well, what you are saying is you're correct, blessed one. But it's I think this come about because of the Mexicans and so forth. It's a broad thing that know we are look upon in a blessed one, but so the cycle still. That's one of the things you understand. Yeah, that's one of those things, man. Save yourself is the next article here. PM directs government to shun criminality, acknowledge major crime reduction. Mm. It's the Prime Minister that sees your said plan done, despite a historic reduction in crime, in murder, sorry, up for 2025. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has made it clear that Jamaicans' fight against violence is far from resolved, issuing a direct appeal to criminals to save themselves and desist from crime and violence. So deviance, they use deviance, the word deviance there. Today, I appeal to the criminals and the gunmen and those who are involved in criminal activities to save themselves. Turn away from violence. Put away the gun. The fact. Turn it in. Save yourself. Change. Wholeness. Wednesday, as he delivered his address at the annual Heal the Family, Heal the Nation National Day of Prayer service was at Power of Faith Ministries in Portmore, St. Catherine. The service include prayers for parishes impacted by Hurricane Melissa, continued reduction in crime, and peace, unity, and blessings for Jamaica. The Prime Minister admonish, admonition came even as he acknowledged the major national milestone of fewer than 700 murder recorded in 2025, a downturn only over observed 31 years ago. He described the achievement as a turning point, but cautioned that sustained efforts is required to ensure that the gains are not we are turning now towards a more peaceable society. And this is not a one-off. In 2023, we had 7% reduction. 2024, we had 19% reduction. Last year, we had 42% reduction. Excuse me. You know, hmm, early once of the morning. We have always said you want to reach a regional average. A regional average is 15 murders per 100,000 population. We are almost there. We are probably about 20, between 20 and 25% per 100,000. We are almost there. We can get there if everyone in this room, let me, yes, we can get there if everyone in this room uh, owns it, keep praying for it, but more than that, keep working for it. The owners addressing both politicians and members of the church. While much of the reduction has been driven by actions taken against organized crime, owners also noted that other forms of violence remain deeply embedded in the Jamaican society, namely domestic disputes and juvenile delinquency, which he said could not be solved by policing only. And this onus pointed to the church as a social institution to work at a different define for juveniles, urging them to move beyond offering prayers and to actively intervene in communities. More than 70% of all murders were gang related, but as you address the elements of it, there are some other murders which will feature persons who have intimate partner violence issues, man and woman business. That is definitely something that all of us in here at the church can address. Quarreling over family, deadlift. These are things, this social violence that are going on to need the help of the church, not just in prayers, but in action, through counseling, through guidance, and also by vision, because there are many youngsters in communities that could very well be in the church choir as they could be in a gang. And it is only because the gang reached out to them and not the church choir why they are in the gang and not the church choir. So we are going to need the army of the church to pull in those youngsters and divert them away from the gangs and criminal activities, said Wallace. The Prime Minister also told the congregation of the work that the government has been doing from the legislative angle to not only tackle organized crime but lessen those instances of social failures, which he said could focus on the realignment of the Jamaican family. What is now needed is a more coordinated and concerted policy that is institutional and directly targeting and promoting and supporting the family in Jamaica. That's the next step for this administration. We are going to see deeper, see, you're going to see develop far more strategic policies towards the family. So we are not only going to target the youngsters in the community, we are going to target ecosystem around the youngsters, meaning his family or her family in education, the same thing. We must get parents far more involved in the education of their children. And the education is not just for the children, it is also education for the parents. Said Holness, arguing that the values shaped in the home often determine the integrity of the child that leaves from it. Excuse me. Oops. And that's being the brush on the screen and it's the thing, internet, the article jump off. Alright. Scroll down to where it reached the article. Yeah, me try to find the article. Alright. Scroll down some more. Alright, technical right of use. So the premise urges all Jamaicans to play their part in the reduction of criminality, stressing that every life was valuable and every one lost was one too many. 95% of those who are doing the killing and those who are killed are young men. It pains my heart to see our young men being killed. So I pray for them to stop killing and I pray for them to save themselves, he said. Yes, it's good and well, the Prime Minister is saying. But this crime thing is big. Many, I mentioned this yesterday, many don't want to do the regular 9 to 5 job, being, for example, a postman or a security guard. Enough just want to, based on observation, linger about in communities. Them see somebody in their community who work and especially if the person have a partner, a female partner in their life, they the men will try to win over that female to themselves. And if the female is not conscious of herself, giving to them, to that individual, as we heard. And when I say we, me and other people, we hear these scenarios in different communities. I remember one time I hear a taxi man was in a relationship with a female. Don't know if she was young or she was old, don't know. And people were saying, giving the taxi man little hints that something like going at home. And when the man drive taxi, him gone juggle the female who him in a relationship with. Don't work. So guys who hang up, one guy who hang up on the corner, we narrow over to inside, probably the guy I get food from her and I get a special type of cake to cut. Taxi man probably forgot something. Me I tell you one scenario. Not even one scenario, but several scenarios. That's one me I telling about on my ear. And the taxi man went back to the place where him reside to pick up something. He heard some moaning and groaning. When he pulled the place and enter, you know, they were alerted and the young man came out of the place, close in hand. Said, man, tell her to leave in place. Taxi man, tell her to leave. So that is a one situation where take place in most communities. Most men who work in certain communities, and if you have a female, we bring in national conscious, really check for yourself or check for you that can befall you. Any male in any community, those type of liberty. Yes, that's what I mean. That is one. The Bible shows us who read it. Say, by the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread. But enough of them don't want to sweat and eat piece of bread. I remember a brethren of mine, his brother, the time I was much younger, and he used to ask me for help. I know that help him out. So one day now, that years ago, years ago, he asked me about job and pay. I told him, and he said to me, he make more than that for the day. I said to myself, but him now work, why make more than that for the day? I said, okay, from that, we don't try to help persons who don't work, especially males. Because when him tell me that, remember I know bridging brother, I may have several bridging, but one particular one, they no longer live in the community. Then they move out. God house where them they live in was, what I put it, deteriorating. Yeah, deteriorating. It wasn't built proper. Over time, it crumbled. So they had to move out because they didn't want the building to collapse. They had to move out. Yes, so uh, there's a lot of factors to this thing of crime and violence. But no fight, as we them say, they will find rope for idle hands. Something constructive I do. Yeah, go. Something I will find you to do. Golden Knox mute international response to US action. Former Prime Minister Bruce Golden was described most disheartening the mute international response to the actions of US President Donald Trump in Venezuela, saying that the American chief executive has succeeded in intimidating most of the universe, and even major countries in Europe are afraid of Queen echoing his wrath. Additionally, Golding said the current geopolitical development have placed Caribbean community, CARICOM countries in a vice as taking a principled stance against Trump, rampaging, rampaging would almost certainly invite retribution. Golding, who served as Jamaica's head of government from 2007 to 2011, made the comments in a column published in today's edition of the Jamaica Observer. In the aftermath of the US strike on Venezuela last week, during which Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife were seized and flown to the US. Maduro has been accused of narco terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to propose machine guns and destructive devices. He appeared in a U.S. court in New York on Monday and pleaded not guilty to the charges. In his column, Golden said that Trump's action was a clear violation of international law and the reputation of the United Nations Charter, which has its core principles: sovereign equality of all states, equal rights, fundamental freedom for all people, maintenance of international peace and security. security. 'Maintain maintenance of international peace and security. These were the charter set to do it. The Golden is referred to avoidance of the threat, use of force against the territorial integrity of or political independence of any state, and the use of peaceful means rather than military force to settle disputes between states. Only noted that Ukraine's Penliska has come out in support of kidnapping of Maduro and argues that is because he is independent of US support in his struggle against Russia, and obviously of the fact that what Russia is determined to do to Ukraine is no different from what Trump plans to do to Greenland and perhaps other states, perhaps others. The situation going at this pose a crisis dilemma for CARICOM countries that are especially vulnerable. A principle stands for which it is renowned institution like this is a renowned principle stands for which it is renowned institution like this is a dangerous gambit in the Trump orbit. Antigua, Barbuda, and Dominica have recently been hit with visa restriction that will have serious implication for their economies when that will have serious implication for their economies when their citizens, business business persons in particular have difficulty in traveling to the US. The stated this is their citizenship by investment programs, but the real reason is programs that the real reason is close relationship with their leaders. I've heard with Maduro, Golden said. He argued that the region now faces the threat of recolonization. Mhm. Oh boy. But that is not new. We are in the waters that we were in 8 years ago. We tread and somehow managed to charter our way through. We will have to do that again, Gordon said. Come 2029, we will say goodbye to Trump. What happens after that will depend on whether he has firmly put in place new ideology and the framework of a new world order that will enjoy significant support and whether any of his will be given charge to perpetuate that legacy in the 2028 presidential election. Like it or not, the future of the world now rests in the hands of an American voter, Gordon argued. See column on page 12. End of article. Yes, indeed. So you can side with somebody and you side with a, for example, countries who side with Maduro, whether through cheaper oil or gas, they are linked with visa restriction and so forth. Just like what they did with Antigua and Barbuda and Dominica. Wow, wow. Trinidad Tobago denies claims airspace has been restricted. Let's see what else the matter here. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'll keep an eye on prayers on this matter here. Port of Spain Trinidad Defense Minister Wayne Serge has dismissed claims on social media that Trinidad and Tobago airspace has, has been restricted, insisting that all aviation operations remain normal and fully functional. Government of Trinidad and Tobago remains committed to safeguarding national sovereignty, aviation safety, and public confidence. That Serge said in a statement adding that any material changes to aviation operation would be communicated through official channels. Serge said the misinformation had been disseminated online following the sharing of a partial exploit of notice to air mission identified as, and they give out the identity there. He said that expert was presented in a misleading manner. The sensitization with what he described as a routine aviation security advisory, resulting in unnecessary public concern. Trinidad and Tobago airspace remains fully open and operational. Lack flight information region and will and all airports continue to accommodate normal commercial private aviation traffic. 300 vehicle airspace remain full operational. Okay, Mary, that's already enough. All right. The Minister of Defense said that Not- Notam A0010/26 as issued by the United States Federal Aviation Administration and applies only to U.S. registered aircraft operators. It said that such advisories are standard security measures routinely issued by sovereign states and do not present any assessment of the safety of security of Trinidad and Tobago airspace. The ministry said that local aviation and national security authorities continue to monitor local flight information region in line with international civil aviation organization standards to ensure the safety of all aircraft. The ministry also called for responsible reporting and warning that circulation of incomplete or misleading information could undermine public confidence and create unnecessary alarm. End of article. Jamaica's path in 2026. As Jamaican awakens to the first days of 2026, the country carries the uh, unmistakable mark of a year that demanded much and gave back hard truths in return. Last year offered no dramatic turning point or bold new vision. It was instead a year of quiet endurance when established policies faced sudden shocks. Institutions proved their mettle under real strain, and chronic weakness ceased to be matters of academic debate and became for ordinary people. This is no time for unqualified optimism. Jamaica enters 2026 with microeconomic foundation stronger than at any juncture in its independent history, yet actually valuable to climate threats, external violating and inequalities that no headline can fully capture. Jamaica began 2025 with a microeconomic reputation that was painstakingly rebuilt over years of discipline. That reputation withstood the year's test through not without visible pressure. Inflation stayed generally within manageable bounds through most of the period, underpinned by Bank of Jamaica's measures approach. By November 2025, the annual rate declined around 4.4%, heading towards the upper limit of the 4 to 6% target corridor as food prices and core service absorb the impact of hurricane related supplies disruption. Essential grew noticeably there in the closing months, heightened worries about household pursuing power as the new year began. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Yeah, we have seen it. Every country have their local upheavals. The central bank kept its policy rates steady at 7.75% through the second half of the year, a deliberate signal that anchoring expectation took precedence while still leaving scope for growth support. The BOJ's public communication maintained a credible equilibrium between inflation vigilance and economic encouragement. That institution trust remains among the country's most vital assets for 2026. Unemployment held at a remarkably low 3.3%, a mark that would have appeared unattainable only 10 years earlier. Yet such labor markets tightened led bare persistent structural issues, noticeably skills shortage and so forth. Income protection, more jobs did not uniform means better lives, economic growth, early gains, sharp reversal. Yes, indeed. Put never put eggs in the refrigerator. Here's why. Okay. Mhm. Well, something, the more advertise something here, I see in the paper, so it catch my eye a couple times and I have to look at it. Party goes towards New Year's at sunrise. Yes, indeed. So much in the newspaper to take a look at. To me, the road them in Jamaica never road them more fix man. All of them. Some of the road them uneven. When you drive on them, the car vibrate with you. Trigger, 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 trigger. Them it bumpy, bumpy. Government allocates 100 million for hmm, Settlewood Road project and Joby Road project. Oh boy, road rehabilitation program for works on critical section of the roadway linking Anchovy in St. James to Shuttlewood in Hanover, with special focus on Mount Keary to Mount Filler corridor. The investment is aimed at improving road safety, strengthening connectivity, and supporting economic activity across Western Jamaica. Without remember it. Mhm. Mount Keary, Mount intersection has been prioritized as part of the government's effort to improve key transport links in the region. In a release on Wednesday, the agency shared that the rehabilitation forms part of the wider program of work planned for the last quarter of 2024 as the government moved to expand targeted road rehabilitation across the island. Work will address areas most affected by deterioration, including potholes, edge breaks, and section compromised by surface failure, and are expected to restore safety and smoother driving conditions for residents, motorists, public passenger operators, and business operators. Ministry is responsible for works and Ministry of Economic Growth and Infrastructure Development. Robert Mr. Morgan said the government has taken note that the road through Mount Filler is currently subject to pipeline work under the Shelterwood to Anchovy pipeline project being implemented by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund. Rehabilitation work are expected to begin in the third week in July, immediately after JSF completes pipeline activities in the area to ensure value for money and avoid rework. The National Work Agency and JSF will coordinate their schedules. Sections of the corridor compromised by pipeline and related excavation work are to be rehabilitated to ensure road restoration is complete to the required standard. Morgan said the investment reflects the government's commitment to delivering principal improvement through coordinated and targeted rehabilitation. This is an important investment in Western Jamaica. The corridor is a key link for residents, transport operators, farmers, and business operators traveling between Saplamar, Westmoreland, and Montego Bay St. Jude. We planned this work from last year and we are now delivering it under the Go Road Rehabilitation Program while ensuring the coordination on any, so any area affected by pipeline works are promptly restored. He said the ministry added that the now 1.7 billion Go Road Rehabilitation Program, which began in December with works in section of Kingston and St. Andrew, is being rolled out island-wide, targeting roads and corridors required urgent improvement. Excuse me. I kind of laugh because I am on the road to myself and I drive in vehicles and I see certain corridors need to be addressed. This road, one road leading up to Barbican, the road I want to fix. We should have won. Waterloo. The road named Waterloo in Kingston. The road Waterloo Road is road past Devon House to the side of Devon House. That's the entrance. That one fixed too. The whole light one address. Trafalgar Road one fixed too. The whole of Trafalgar Road one fixed. And so forth. The time is now 5:32 in Kingston, Jamaica. And what is the time in my favorite African country, Kenya? Let's refresh. Oh, it is 1:32 in the afternoon down there in Kenya. 1:32 in the afternoon down there in Kenya. Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Romans chapter 12, verse 21. Do not let yourself be conquered by the evil, but keep conquering the evil with the good. Romans chapter 12, verse 21. Yes, we're going to slide into the second segment of our devotional reading. Yashua told an illustration about a widow who kept asking a judge to give her justice. No doubt the story reasoned with many of Yahshua's disciples because in his day the common people were often victims of injustice. The story is also meaningful to us because we have all experienced injustice at one time or another. In a world today, prejudice, inequality, and oppression are common, so we are not surprised when we are treated unfairly. What we may, what we might expect, not expect, though, is to be misjudged by a brother or a sister. Yet that can happen. Alrighty, let me care the people because oh, the kind of noise I want. And you know, man, newspaper them in a plastic. And rain for a couple days now. Yes, yes, yes. What we might not expect to. is to be misjudged by a brother or a sister. Yet, that can happen, of course. Our brothers and sisters are not opposers of the truth. They are simply imperfect. We can learn much from how Yahshua reacted to injustice from wicked opposers. If we can be patient with opposers who treat us unjustly, how much more so we should be patient with our fellow believers. Yes, keep conquering the evil with the good. Romans chapter 12, verse 21. Mm-hmm. Right, so I will leave it. Yes, yes, yes. Right here, so I will leave it. My people, take care of yourself. God bless.